car was overturned on the other side of the car. Well done everybody for coming along tonight. We'll just take a trot through the actual tender itself. So the screen that you'll see there, that is Public Contracts Scotland. And if I just go to search notices, then obviously what you could do is scroll through all of these, but it could take you a wee bit of time. So this area on the left is basically a filter. Now let's just say, for instance, you didn't really know what it was called, but you know it's Dundee City Council, but you don't know City of Dundee Council, Dundee City Council, doesn't matter, you don't have to put it all in. Let's just put Dundee in here, and we'll say, let's show us a current opportunity. So this is something that you can apply for. We don't need to bother with anything else at the moment. We don't need to bother about archive contracts or anything because it's a current contract. So then we just click search notices. Now obviously it has to go through a lot of notices, so sometimes it can take a wee while. So in this case here, you can see that it's second from the top. Top one is actually University of Dundee. This one is Dundee City Council. Two down. It was published a week ago on the 16th of January, and you've got until the 16th of February to put your bid in. Now, one of the first things I'll say is please do not leave it to the 16th of February. Do it earlier than that. Do it as soon as you possibly can. But just looking here, the 16th is a Friday. So I would suggest that you get it in on Thursday the 15th, if not before. It's honestly, I mean, one of my friends actually lost her electricity 2 days ago and still hasn't got it back on. You just honestly don't know what's going to happen. So the sooner you can get it in, the better. So what we'll do is we will click on this advert, and you can see here that this is one where you can record your interest here. I will do that just now. It'll tell me I've already registered my interest, but that's fine. But that's just what you do to get it. Then you've got the ones that you've expressed interest in, and you just go down to that one, click on it, and it brings you back to where you were before, but this time you've expressed interest, which opens up this documents section here. So I'm just going to go through all of these tabs so that you're familiar with each of the tabs. So the summary one is where you would keep coming back to if you just wanted to know, for example, what is the deadline. It is 5 o'clock on the Friday rather than 12 o'clock. There was one yesterday I was doing and it was actually an 11 o'clock deadline. So I was very glad that I had submitted it the day before. But yeah, always check out what time it is and don't assume, because I'd say most of the time it's 12. In that case, it was 11. I could have easily missed that if I hadn't done it the day before. So what this is, looking for a range of resources for the children's and family services within the city of Dundee, and it's a flexible framework arrangement. Okay, so it's an extensive framework. I was talking to the procurement officer earlier. She was telling me that it's a replacement for one that already exists. So if you are already on a framework like this for City of Dundee, Dundee City Council, then do remember that you do have to reapply. This one is what you need to be on for going forward. In the full text, this will tell you, so it's Trina who's running this procurement. That email address is really purely for information. All of the questions have to go onto the portal, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. It looks to me like it's also going to get used for not just by Dundee City Council, but also Perth and Kinross Council and Angus Council. So it's a really extensive framework. Looking further down, we've already talked about that. So there are different lots. I think there are 10 lots. So each of these provides a sort of subject matter definition of what it is that you need to, of what it is that they're looking for. So outdoor education, physical activity and sport, provision of clubs, provision of support, advice and therapeutic services. So you can, I won't go through all of the lots, but there are various lots that you can apply for. You don't have to obviously apply for all of them, just apply for the ones that are relevant to your organisation. Within here, we have got the documents. So there are not that many documents to have a look at. You can see how many times they've been downloaded across on the right here, which is often quite helpful. In this case, it's not really what I would call a competitive procurement. You're not trying to win something, you're just trying to get onto the framework. And there's no limit to the number of suppliers that will be on the framework. So you're not looking at this and thinking, oh, holy moly, I'm competing against 62 other organisations. It doesn't really apply in this case. But if you were applying for another contract, it's just worth bearing in mind that that can give you a little bit of an insight. It's not hugely reliable, but I give you a little bit of insight into how popular this is going to be. Okay, so you can see in here, Trina has done a really good job of making it really clear what has to do. So in here, she said whether it's something that needs to be completed or not. So this is a document to be read. It doesn't need to be completed. And then it tells you whether lot 10, which is the counselling in schools, if that's got to be completed for that, because lot 10 is quite a bit different to the other lots. Used to be again a separate contract, but this time they thought, well, let's just do it all in one. But there are differences. So for example, the lot 10 counselling doesn't have a pricing schedule. If you're looking around for that madly and thinking, where on earth is it? There isn't one. It will be decided when there's a call off. There will be a pricing schedule when there's a call off against the framework. So what I would suggest you do, you can download all files here using this zip file. So if you just click on that blue link, that will download it, or you can download them individually. I tend to just do it as one zip file. I'll create a folder called whoever the client's name is and what the documents are, and put them in tender documents, keep them in there. It just means I don't always have to come back to PCS and download something again. I can always look in that folder and check that I've completed everything that needs to be completed. So that's just the documents that you have to do. And then in Q&A, you can see here there have been 15 questions. Trina did say to me that, sorry, put my, don't know if you can mute me just now.
Yes, I have muted you. Let me know when you need unmuted. Hi guys, I'm just looking at Susan's question. Susan's question came in and said there's no document tab showing, but she has expressed interest. There is no reason for that to have happened other than there's an issue with your instance of PCS. Now there is a free phone number at the top of the screen, Susan, so I'm going to suggest that you call the number. Oh, she says, ignore that. I withdrew interest and re-registered. Oh, well, okay, that's also that's also fixing. Withdraw interest and redo it has worked for you. But if any of you guys are experiencing a similar issue, that is an issue with the actual portal because there's no reason for that to have happened. So there is a free phone telephone number for you to call PCS. There is a UK helpline. I would call them in that instance if that happens to you. Are you ready to come back in, Julie?
Sorry about that. Somebody came in the house and all hell broke loose in the background. Right, okie dokie. So yeah, there's the questions here. I'm thinking that there might still be one more to be answered because, yeah, I don't see any there. Trina did say that it was one more to come through. But she is so helpful. If there is anything when you're going through the process that you don't understand about the documents or anything, just ask a question. So I'm going to show you how to do that just now. Oh, the other thing is, before I do that, you can download the answers, which is really helpful because if you're in an organisation where you might be working on this jointly with other people or you just want to share the questions and answers, sometimes what I do is I'll have add another column into the spreadsheet and just have an implications thing. So it could be you maybe have to review your pricing, you might have to speak to somebody else in your organization, or you might have to go back and change a document that you think you'd already completed to the best of your abilities. So you can download your answers here and it creates a spreadsheet. So that's really helpful to know as well. So just say there's something you don't understand, you go into ask a new question. It tells you here, do not include your name, email address, or anything commercially sensitive. Don't do anything either which basically lets them know what organisation you work for. It's all meant to be kept anonymous, and when the buyer gets this question, they basically can only flip it, so they can't amend your question. They can only accept, respond to it, or reject it. So sometimes you might get a question rejected and it's only because you've left your name in it or it's been asked already or something like that. So now in this one, in this system PCS, there isn't a facility to add a screenshot. There is in the other system PCST, but that's not what Dundee City Council is using in this case. So you would put, you know, repricing, row 54, we aren't sure what is required. Can you clarify, please? So you would just type the question like that, and then submit it. In this case, of course, I'm not going to submit it because I don't really want to set hairs running, because it might actually be a row 54 in the pricing schedule, so I'm going to cancel that. Thing to note is that the buyer does not know who is asking the question, and I think that's good because you know, you shouldn't feel, oh, I can't ask that in case somebody thinks this, that, or the other. It's, you have to ask questions. It's right that you ask questions. You've got to be really clear on everything that you're doing. On the further information, there's nothing there. Contact information, it's Trina's, but like I say, always use the Q&A. So only other options you got in here, because it's PCS, is to go to the post box, withdraw your interest. If you withdraw your interest, so just say you've decided you're not going to apply for it for whatever reason, it asks you for a reason for doing that. So it could be you've decided it's not relevant to you or something like that, then you would withdraw your interest. You can also print it out. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the post box. So basically what we're going to start to do is complete the application. So if you go into post box, you can see here you've got your notice response list and a dispatch list. In here, I've got the flexible framework due on the 16th of February, so you can double check that. And all we can do at this stage, because we haven't created, we've just got to create it, and I'll show you that changes the next time that we log in. So it pre-populates some information, which you can edit them if you like, and I'm going to come back to the SPD in a second. What you basically would do here is upload a file. So just so you've got the pricing schedule, choose a file. Let me see, I will go to anything. So you choose your file. Another wee tip for you, you might have working documents where you've got all your versions and all the rest of it. What I tend to do is once we've got something that's final, I create another folder that's called Final Ready for Upload. It sounds like, a bit too straightforward, but what it means is that anything I pop in that folder, I am confident that that is the last version. When I did a bit of work with Edinburgh Council, and one of the large national companies for a big 4-year framework contract, they uploaded the empty version of the pricing schedule by mistake, just an administrative error, and that was that. The bid was considered non-compliant because it hadn't included pricing. So ever since then, and now that I'm on the other side in a lot of cases doing this, I always make sure that I check it's got all of the information in it and it's the final one. And like I say, I put it in final ready for uploads, and it just avoids making that mistake. So I have chosen a file, as you saw, but you would think maybe that's it, but it's not. So you have to remember to click add, and then it uploads the document. And what you'll see down here is that's the document that I've uploaded. Now, if you later make a change to pricing and you think, okay, I'm going to go back now and I'm going to click on this and delete it, then you can do that. You just click on that. Be careful you don't click the top one because it will delete everything. Of course, it's not the end of the world. You could upload them all again, but you really don't want to. So just click on that box that applies to that, and I'm going to click delete. Doesn't give you a second opportunity to say, are you sure? It just deletes it. So of course it's on your laptop or your computer somewhere, so you could always pick it up. That's not a problem. But yes, so that's how you do that. In this box, I usually just put, dear Dundee City Council, please see our tender attached. Don't hesitate. Get in touch. It's just along that side of things. Now, in this case, it won't let me dispatch it because I haven't completed the SPD. But once you've done that, then you are able to dispatch, or you can just save and exit. Okay. So if I save and exit, just to show you what happens, if I come back here, which is from my interest list to see the post box, then it's not create anymore, it's edit and dispatch. But be really careful because underneath there's a delete, and it's so close. I really wish they didn't have that because it's dead easy to delete. Really, really easy to delete. So let's go into edit and dispatch. Right, if you go into here, you will see up here, that's just the little bits here. They look almost like a content sheet, but you don't really need it because there's so very little on the page anyway. But you can see here, so the SPD is a single procurement document, and you can edit it any time up until the point the closing date and time. It's the one area of PCS that the team get the most questions about. They get the most help desk questions about the SPD in PCS. And at first I really quite liked it. I still do like it, but it's quite difficult. It's not as intuitive as it should be, I think. So there are areas I'll point out as we go along. So you can see here, you have to unlock it if you want to make changes once you have locked it. So once you've locked it, it doesn't mean to say that's it. As long as the closing date hasn't passed, you can still go back in and you can unlock it and make more changes. But I would say, oh, please try not to, especially at the 11th hour. I've been there. I've been the one trying to lock an SPD and submit with minutes to go, and it's not a comfortable place to be. So I would say, again, like anything else, try and get it in the day before, but do not go in and make little tweaks to your SPD at the last minute. So I'm just going to go in here because I think this is maybe one of the areas that I do want to go into quite a bit of detail. So I'm going to generate the response. The first bit is not all of these sections here, it's not something that you would change. This is something that's been populated already by the council. So all of this has been populated in here. And you can see, you can't change any of that. So we just go next. This has come through from my profile. So there is in PCS, there is a place that you can do your SPD company profile. So these come through automatically. So if you want to change these, you have to go into your profile. You can't actually change them here. So you go into next. And then if you want to, you can add a supplier representative. That's mainly, I just use it if, just say you were using an organisation like me to do your tender for you in representing the supplier, I put it in there, but it's not a compulsory section. Basically what that does is just then starts now to create the SPD response, and we go into the questions that are standard questions in a single procurement document. There is also the Word version of this, which has, I would say, has been the most popular. The Scottish Government want to phase it out completely, the Word document. The only thing is, I think if they were to do that, they're going to have to make improvements to this SPD in Public Contract Scotland, because it is an area where suppliers can get a bit confused. It's taking its time, but it often does, because it's now going into a different website, I think, to do the SPD. So all we can do is wait and hope that there's not something happening with the website and there's an update or something going on. Right, so here we go. So in here, you can see that's where your control panel is and your profile. If you wanted to go into that on PCS, you can do so. So here is something that's very specific about this contract. So it's got the different lots in here. So you would tick whichever lot is you're going for. And then next, remember you can come back and change any of these. So are you small or medium? Asks you for the number of employees, 10, you know, just put anything in there. I'm not going to save this. Are you a supported business? Now in this case, it is asking about on an official list of approved contractors, but it's not relevant if you're a UK business. So as long as you're UK business, you would just click not applicable. Can you say that you have paid your social security and taxes? Yes. Now the other thing is, you see these yes, no's for electronically available, you do have to click on one of these. If you left it blank, it wouldn't let you submit. So you always have to make sure you've got that done. Are you participating with others? So if you answer yes, then it does ask you more information about who the other body is that you're applying with. And then the other thing is to note with this system is once you've completed, so just so you've got supplier A, and then you've got XYZ in here, XYZ in here, then you have to click add. It doesn't just appear, and when you click add, you can see it up here. Okay, so just to note, that's how that works. And then what you can do is you have to then complete an SPD for each of those organisations, and it's got the link here to the actual Word version, which you would still need to use in this case if you are relying or working in a consortium with somebody else. The next question is, are you bidding with any other organisations to meet the selection criteria? Now, I didn't really see any selection criteria here, because normally that would be things like meeting a certain turnover level, having certain insurances, etc. in place. If you can't meet that, then you can make a consortium to apply, and you would answer yes to that, and it'll ask you more details, but we'll just put no. Are you going to subcontract? Again, if you say yes, it asks you for details on that, and you have to download an SPD and complete that for all of your subcontractors, or you would just say no. Okay. At any point you can save, but this one does actually save your answers as you go through, thank goodness. Now we get on to these exclusion ones, which is, you know, all the mass murdery type questions. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but if you were to do it, your answer no. But if your answer is yes, it then asks you for backup information. So it's conditional formatting in this form, which is quite good. I'm not going to go through all of these mass murderer type questions, but you'll know if you've answered incorrectly because you then get more questions to answer. So let's move into the selection. Now, this was one subject of a Q&A was, are you enrolled in a professional register? If you answer no, then it says, why are you not? So just say, I don't know, you put on puppet shows or something, just thinking of what my children had. Then you could say, our service doesn't require registration. And that's totally okay. So you definitely put no there as well. Whereas if you have to be registered, say with the care inspector or something like that, then you would say yes. And then it'll ask you for the details of where you're registered. And then remember, once you've done that and the number, then you would say add, and it'll appear up there. This cross just is a delete. So if you put something wrong, you want to change it, then you've always got that option to delete. Similar with a trade register, it's very similar question to above. Maybe they should have just taken one of those out and just put one in, but it's the same sort of question. So is there a membership of a particular organisation required, and so on. Go through here. It's asking you what your turnover is for the last 2 years. There's no minimum turnover requirement, so you don't have to worry about that. If you don't have turnover for the last 2 years, you can just say no. And no. But if you say yes, then you put the financial year, so say 2020, you know, 1, 2, 3, and add again. So you can see that this facility appears quite a lot. And then you put 2021, 2, 3, 4, and add again. And that's me now provided my turnover for the last 2 years. You can say it's available electronically if you want, but that would maybe be a link to Companies House, or you could upload your accounts if you want to, but they don't seem to be asking you to upload your accounts at this stage, so you don't necessarily have to. And if it's not available for the entire period, then you can say when it was that you started trading. You can put, it's got a calendar facility, so you can pick that there. And then this is about the insurances. So do you have employer's insurance and any other insurances that they are requiring? Now I'm not sure, we'd have to have a look at the documents to see what economic or financial requirements they've got, just to see what they're asking for, and then put that in there. Okay, when you come into the relevant examples, oh, there's a couple of questions. I'll come back to those because I'm not getting enough time to read them. You can put your description of examples in here. So you could say Dundee City Council flexible framework from such and such, you know, 2019 to 2024. And then you can put referees in here. So they're looking for contact details of referees as well. So you could put contact, XYZ, email, and phone. And then you would just put a description of the work that you've carried out. And it's also asking in here the quality of the service. So anything you've got that can demonstrate, whether that be feedback from whoever you did the work for or feedback from the participants, If you've asked them to rate it or just to give their opinion on it, then you can put that in there. I would say, you know, most of the time this is going to be confidential, so you might want to put yes, and that's how it then appears in terms of how you've written it in there. Okay, now you can upload something if you want, so just say there was evidence of quality, maybe an email from somebody or a spreadsheet that you did. Then if you want to, you can go down here and say, yes, we will upload it, and you can put that there, and then you can upload a new document. When you upload a new document, again, it takes you to does seem to take a while to do all of these things. Just be patient. Hopefully it's not going to take too long for this to come on. Right, so when you upload, you've got to scroll down to this bit. So you do the document, so just say course feedback, and then you just put from 10 participants or whatever it is you want to say here. You don't have to say who the issuing body was. There's no expiry date. You don't need a reminder. You might want to store it again, and then you just choose the file, and you say in here that you just want it for this question. It says ESPD. A lot of the places it hasn't been updated. ESPD is outdated now. It's SPD, but hopefully you were aware of that. So you just click save. But it's not letting me do that. So if I want to cancel, because I'm not going to upload a document just now. Okay, so if I go into next. Now this is about quality assurance. It's asking if you've got a certificate. Now that would be something like ISO 9001 or a care inspectorate gradings or something like that, which you may have, in which case you would upload that. But if you don't have that, then you would have to say what else you can provide that shows that you've got a quality management system. And then environmental management as well. So they've not asked for anything on environmental management. So this is where I think it really needs improvement, is when you get to this end bit. It's not obvious at all, it's not intuitive, that you need to go into concluding statements. So in here you have to tick this and put your name in here, okay? Also, if you go to summary, and you scroll down, you'll see that there are areas that have been unanswered. So that's quite handy. And if you note these down, unfortunately, what would be really, really good is if then you could just click on that unanswered and it took you to that page. But it doesn't. You have to basically go back through it. So, and you see how this available, I said to you, you have to click yes or no. If you didn't click that, then it would be unanswered and it wouldn't let you do it. But the good thing is the red does stand out in the page, so you can go back and complete these. But yeah, I just wish there was a way that it just took you straight back to that. So all I can do in this case is save and exit because it won't let me lock. But the other thing is, I would expect it to say up here save and exit, and I'd expect to see save and lock because it does tell you. But actually what happens is when you click save and exit, in my case, I can't save and lock because I've got unanswered questions. But once you've answered them all and done that concluding statements, then that will be open to you and you can save and lock it. But in my case, I'm just going to save only. And then it takes me straight back out again. So now, anytime I want to go in, I just go in and edit my SPD response. So that's the SPD. I'm just going to pause there and just take any questions that have come in, Fran, because I think there's quite a few popping up.
Yeah, we've had a few come in. Nicola saying, to clarify, counselling providers should provide evidence/feedback from others, reader service, and also names of referees.
Yes, you can do. They do want to do get a reference as well. So they may or may not take that reference up. You know, they're asking for the details, but they're not necessarily going to always take that referees up. But yeah, I would say it's asking for evidence of experience, and then it's also saying any feedback or evidence that it's of a high quality. So I think uploading some feedback or some evidence of that, other evidence of that quality would be a good thing to put in there.
Emily's asking, can we send the same submission for more than one lot? We cross over 2 lots.
Yes, you can. I think that's in the Q&A, so have a look at the questions and answers. But as far as the SPD is concerned, as you see, you just need to complete it once anyway. What I'm not sure about is the examples of experience, if they've asked for a certain number of examples of experience.
We can go back and look at that again.
Yeah.
When we'll go into. Elaine was asking, we are part of another charity since 2017, but since this SCIO in August 22, we have only 7 months account in our new name. What do we put under the accounts? Do we use the 7 months accounts and then previous accounts under the old charity?
Oh, I think you'd be better asking that question on Q&A. I wouldn't like to give you an answer and just in case it's wrong.
Elaine, we'll go through how to use a Q&A again at the end, but yeah, that's a question for the buyer to confirm for you. Sean was saying, when uploading complete files, I have compiled a complete file with content, etc. Would this be okay as it keeps everything organised and everything is all together?
Yeah, that sounds like a good way.
Perfect. Amanda said, for 2A16, are you still under UK business if you are a charity?
Yes.
Perfect. Elaine says, I completed the SPD for the last Dundee framework. Can I access and update this rather than starting from scratch?
Unfortunately, not in Public Contract Scotland. It doesn't remember your previous responses.
Is it not saving the answers also that you don't have to rekey?
No, it doesn't in PCS. It does in PCST.
Oh.
But not in PCS.
Right, okay, I'll need to get that looked at because I think Steve Patterson thought that was the way it was working. We'll look into that. Jane said, now she starts off with, is the other information available electronically? So that's the question. And do you want to upload your documents? So do you have to provide documentation or is it enough to say it's available?
No, well, to answer that, I think we would definitely need to look at what they've asked for, because in theory, you shouldn't have to supply the evidence at this stage, only when you're successful. But I've noticed in some tenders recently that buyers have actually been wanting that information up front when you're applying. So we would need to look and see what they've said in this particular case. So I bring this over here. And let me just see if I can go through. So just to see if it tells us. It does say, so submission of this tender It's via PCS, and the satisfactory completion of the SPD along with any applicable supporting information requested. So let me see, supporting information to load, pricing schedule, service description and specification, and new supplier form. So I don't think right, so no, it doesn't specifically say what supporting information is required to be uploaded. So I think if I was on your boat, I would ask that on the Q&A as well and say, with regards to the SPD, can you confirm what supporting documents need to be uploaded and at this point when we're applying for the SPD? But it doesn't say here. It doesn't say here specifically you need to upload your accounts, so they might maybe don't want them at this stage. And then this is the one that we were looking at with the examples. Must supply details of 2 referees to whom the tenderer has provided a comparable service. Please detail any information and or feedback from the purchasers to evidence the quality of your service.
Perfect, Julie, thank you. And that kind of clarifies Elaine's point too, Elaine. Everything is being done through PCS on this particular tender, but there is a separate portal called PCST, which is not being used in this instance, but if it were, then yes, you would be registering on Public Contract Scotland tender in addition to PCS. But for this tender for Tayside, it is only PCS that's being used. Perfect, I'll hold the rest back now, Julie, I'll let you crack on.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to quickly look at some of these documents and look at some of these deadlines. So something that sometimes catches people out is this last date for tender questions. So in this case, it's the 6th of February, which is that next, no, 2 weeks today. So please make sure that you've read through everything that you've got to do and you're really clear on what you've got to do before that deadline, because there's nothing worse than trying to do something and not being able to ask any questions. So if you could, because you know, if you could possibly do it before, get everything done before the 6th, that would be the ideal position. But even if you don't have the time to do everything, at least have a read through and understand what it is you've got to do by then. So what they're hoping is that they will let everybody know by the 5th of March. Then there'll be a 10-day standstill period. That basically means that they've notified you of the outcome. Yes, you've been successful, but you've got to wait for this 10-day standstill period. That is just a period where an unsuccessful bidder has got the chance to challenge that. Hoping to award it by the 18th of March with a view to starting. So basically be available for schools, etc., to call off from the framework from the 1st of April. Those dates may change, but that's what they're hoping to be able to do. Okay, so if they were first living wage, there's community benefits in this one. So they will have, it's all proportionate, you can see, according to the values of what you deliver. And there are key performance indicators where you will be required to report on those in terms of how you're performing on those. And health and safety. So yeah, just have a read through this. This isn't something that you need to actually return. And so then you get into this section here, which is something you've got to complete. So this is the service description and service specification. And in here you would describe your service. Now, sometimes it's really quite hard to describe your service, your own service. So you might want to run this past somebody else. Because, and the reason I say that, I had a couple of clients who were doing this one actually last time, and it was just so clear to them what they do that it was actually really difficult for them to explain it, and I had to ask some clarification questions of them just so that I was really clear exactly what they were doing. So for every service, you can detail what that service is, and this is a brief description, 35 words. So basically it's, your elevator pitch. If you could tell them very briefly, quickly, what is it you do, 35 words, then you can go on to give a longer description in 1,000 words. It doesn't have to be 1,000 words, it can be up to 1,000 words. And then complete the pricing schedule. And as I've said before, the pricing schedule is only for those where there's for 1 to 9. It's not for lot 10. There isn't one. You've also got to complete this new supplier form, which has just got basic information on it. And then lot 10 is a different questionnaire to be filled out. So a wee bit more involved for lot 10 than there is for the other lots. Okay. And lot 10 have also got to do the cloud security matrix as well. And there's been a couple of questions on that. This is the terms and conditions. So have a read through those as well to see what you're signing yourself up for. But actually, there's not really that much to do in terms of the SPDs. Probably we've just been through. You can see how quick it is to do that. Provide your examples, upload any evidence once we know what evidence they want, and then do your description of service, do your pricing schedule, upload both of those to the portal, and that's you if you're lot 1 to 9. And yeah, I think there's no point in going through all of the terms and conditions there, but I think that's basically everything, Fran.
Perfect. It's good timing. I'm just collecting in all the questions that are coming in. Okay, so now it's over to you guys. Was that crystal clear? Is there anything you need to see again? Is there any information you need us to repeat? Now is a good time to ask. So let me just quickly jump over to the questions because we had a whole wee flurry of them there. Donna was saying we want to be the provider for drama therapy in schools. Is this the way to go on? So is there a lot there that would be suitable for drama therapies, or should that maybe be the PEF contract?
Let me see if we go to there is a service description and specification. I think that's the one for completion. If we go to full text, what have we got in here? So drama, I don't think that would be outdoor education. It wouldn't be clubs. Well, drama club. Support, advice, therapeutic services, creative engagement might be a drama.
Okay, so yes,
Yeah.
is the answer, Donna.
Yeah.
Harriet's also saying have a look at lot number 4. That might be the one for you.
That's lot 4, creative engagement.
Perfect. So yes, Donna, that is definitely the one. Okay. Just let me grab lot 3 just popped in there. Just grab all of them. And I'll read out the next one. So Cheryl was saying, is there a way to get your previous application in the absence of person who would usually be applying? She's emailed Trina, but no reply, but we wouldn't expect Trina to be able to reply at this stage. She's in tender now, so she's not going to be able to engage with you. What would be the quickest way for Cheryl to get access to this information?
Yeah, If you mean what you did before, right? So what you do, I'll share my screen again.
I think maybe it's been a previous colleague that's done. I
Yeah,
think that's the problem.
yes. So yes, you can see what you've done before. If you, right, so let me just see, what am I in? I'm in PCS, so that's where I want to be. Go to suppliers area and interest list, and I'm going to just click on any of them. Let me just see. And no, I'm not going to click on any of them. I'm going to go back and do what we've just done. So flexible framework agreement. So that was in my interest list. If you go to, there might be a quicker way to do this, Fran, but this is the way I always do it. If you go to postbox, then in dispatched list, that's where you can see what you've done, and you can click on view. And if you go into view, you go down, you can see all of the documents, and you can download those documents. So that's how to find something that you've done before. Like you say, if they read a change in personnel or something like that, you can find it in there.
And that's exactly what I did unto. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that helps share. Nicola was saying, would you encourage providers to upload as many documents as possible if appropriate and relevant?
Probably it depends, like everybody's definition of appropriate and relevant can be different. I would ask the question. So for example, in your description of services, it's got 1,000 words. I don't think it says in there whether you can put screenshots and pictures and photographs and everything in. I would ask if they would want you to do, if you would be allowed to do that, because sometimes I suppose if you've done something creative, if you've done a workshop or something like that, then it might actually be better to put in a picture or something. Just check with them that they're okay with that and they're happy for you to do that. The buyer will get a bit annoyed if you're putting in things like flyers and stuff like that that aren't very relevant. So I would say, if in doubt, ask the question if you can upload such and such to support your application. And then at least you've got it in black and white that they said that was okay to do that.
Perfect, thank you. Cheryl had come back to say, would that way to get into the previous documents, would that still work if it was under a different account? But that's going to depend on how it's set up. If it's a different username and password, then potentially not, Cheryl. That's going to depend on how your organisation has set PCs.
Yeah.
So,
It will. I mean, I would say give, there's a technical website up there, a phone number, give them a call, because I'm sure there will be data protection type issues.
do you know
Depending on
another
how
way
it's
you
been
might get
set up.
FOI? To be putting a freedom of information, well, timing now goes against you, unfortunately, but putting in a freedom of information and asking the council for the previous tender might have worked. But I
Well,
don't know.
you might not even need to go as far as an FOI. You know, you might be able just to email Trina and say, could you send us back our previous response? But I think before you do that, I would contact PCS and explain the situation and see if they can get into it for you.
So Elaine is asking, is the old SPD in the postbox? So I'm assuming by old she means the previous edition of this contract, assuming that Elaine has bid for the previous version of it.
No, it doesn't seem to be.
Okay. And of course, things have changed since then, because that might even have been an ESPD, depending on how old, how long ago that was. Okay, back to your questions. Nicola's saying, would you encourage providers to, oh no, we've done that one. That was the last one we did. And then Elaine was asking what the difference between PCS and PCST. What is the difference between the two systems?
All right. PCST is used for tendering as well. Obviously Dundee have decided not to use it in this case. So you don't have to worry about it for this one. But if you are applying for other tenders, they might use PCST. It's another website that you need to register for. and it's a bit different. It's a bit more like completing an online application because it's question by question by question by question, and you upload attachments to each question, or you'll answer yes or no's in there. It's probably not unlike the SPD that we've just gone through, but it's not. Uh, it just looks quite a lot different. But I can see why they won't have needed to use it in this case, because there really isn't, apart from your pricing and description of services, that seems to be all that they're really being asked to do.
Okay. Perfect, hope that helps Elaine. Nicola says, I'm a sole trader. How would I approach the question around turnover or net profit, etc.?
Well, you should still have turnover, and it's only turnover that they're interested, not net profit. So even if you're a sole trader, you'll still have turnover that you can put in there.
Nicola wants clarification on the documents to be uploaded for lot 10 are the same documents for the other lots.
No, it doesn't look like it is different for lot 10.
Okay. Neil was saying, is it both Neil and Yvonne have asked similar questions actually. Is it appropriate to ask Dundee Council officers to be referees for bids, or would there be a conflict of interest? And Yvonne had said, re-referees, can we use referees from our current work in Dundee?
Yes, I've had this recently. Ask the person that you would be using as a referee if they are happy to be a referee. The usual process would be that if they're, as long as they're not on the evaluation panel, then it's okay. If they're going to be on the evaluation panel, then they'll probably say they can't be, but they might say they might have somebody else that you know that works in that team that isn't on the evaluation panel, and tell you to use them instead.
Nicola was saying, would you encourage providers to upload? That one's been done. Oh, some of these are coming through me twice. Rose is saying, can we save this forum as we go, or does it need to be completed in one go? If we are already on the framework, can we add this as an example? And can you be scored on referees?
Oh, right, okay. I've got the can we save this form as we go? Yes. So there was a next button or a save button. So you can just save and exit at any time, and come back to it when you're ready. And then you just go into edit SPD instead of create SPD. So yeah, you can do that at any point.
If we're in the framework, can we add this as an example? So that would be the same as Neil and Yvonne earlier. And then can you be scored on a referee? Is that a scored question?
I don't think these are being scored. I think they're just going to be a pass fail, from what I can see.
Okay. Scrolling down, Harriet said, what about CVs for quality evidence? I have recently started my own business, so don't have previous buyers, if that makes sense. Is that more to, not that the business is new, it's more about Harriet's experience, regardless of where she worked previously. That's more about the CV then, isn't it, rather than the business being brand new?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not seeing that question coming through.
Harriet came in at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, no, not come through to me. So CV, are you talking about, is it about relevant experience, evidence of past experience?
Which says, what about CV for quality evidence? I have recently started my own business, so don't have previous buyers, if that makes any sense. Harriet says yes, that's what you said, exactly.
Yeah, so I think, I don't really think that's what they're looking for, but so if you've just started your own business, I think you should ask a question and say, literally just started, haven't carried out this service yet to anybody, and therefore can't provide evidence of past experience. Can you suggest a way around this? The alternative way of looking at it is, so it's just say you were an accountant and now you're going to do puppet shows, then yeah, you can't. But if you were maybe working for a puppet company and now you've got your own puppet company, then you could, because you could put the past experience from the previous company. So I think it will depend as to whether you're your past experience that shows on your CV is relevant or not. That's the key thing.
That makes sense. Laura's asking, pricing scheduled docs. If, for example, you're applying for lots 3, 7 and 9, do you fill in the sheets named 3, 7 and 9, or do you complete sheet 1 to 3 and delete the others? I'm presuming it's the latter based on layout.
I haven't actually looked at that. Do you want me to look at that, or is that something we should ask Dundee just to be sure?
Maybe both. Maybe we go in and have a look,
Yes.
but that may be also a question to put through the Q&A, Laura.
Let me have a look. Documents. I'm just going to share my screen again. Okay. So I don't see a 1 to 3 that you were referring to here. I've got
So she's looking at 3, 7 and 9. Do you fill in 3, 7 and 9, or do you complete sheets 1 to 3 and delete the others?
these look like repeats, don't they?
Definitely a question for the buyer then.
Yeah. Because you can, it's not like this sheet is for lot 1 because you actually have to choose the drop down box. Let's see. These are all right. Okay, so it says you should use a separate sheet for each service that you're offering. So it's like somebody said, this doesn't refer to the lots, I don't think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just refers to how many services you're offering. So if you've got more than 10 services, it's probably confusing because it's 10, like there are 10 lots, but this isn't what this is meaning. So if you have more than 10 services that you can offer, then you would just create a new sheet. But if you've only got one service, so back to my example of a puppet show, then you would just be putting in here, and I would put in here, you know, puppet show in here, and then I would see what my so if there's 2 to 10, then this is how much it costs, and so on, and this is what you put in here if it's 1 to 1 or if it's that. Okay, so yeah, this is about each different service. So that you do, and you would do a sheet for each. Don't bother deleting them, just leave them blank. So if you only do one service, just complete number 1 and leave the rest of them blank.
Okay. Harriet said it's because each sheet needs to be created for every service provided. I'm sure
Yes.
it's on the question list already, so somebody's already gone into Q&A. There may be something in there that can help you. That was Laura asked that question. Thanks, Harriet. Okay. All right, back to your questions. Just grab this one. Okay. So, from Sarah, she says, thanks, this was really useful. We're an education charity working with babies to preschool primary. Would this be relevant as it's for family hubs, not
I couldn't quite hear you there.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking because I'm reading at the same time. Sorry. And the rain bouncing down on my roof, which is not. Sarah was asking, she said, thank you, this was really useful. We're an education charity working with babies to preschoolers primarily. Would this be relevant as it's for family hubs, not schools? So
I think it would, yeah, I think so, because I think it's education and social care type organisation, you know, services that would be using this. So yeah, and there was a question and answer. I can't remember what it was they asked, but it was along the lines of always working with parents rather than working with children, and will that work? Will that be okay? And the answer was yes. Just explain that in your service description.
Okay, so I'm sure that helped. Alison says, if we have multiple activities in one lot and multiple lots to apply for, is it one SPD response and then separate service descriptions and pricing documents for each activity and each lot?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm understanding from the way that it's set up, is that you only have to do one SPD response, because the SPD is mostly about your organisation rather than what you're going to provide in the future. So that's why you can get away with just having one.
Karen was saying, if two of us from the same organisation express interest at the same time in ERA, then one of us withdraw interest. Does it withdraw company interest or just the person?
Oh, I actually don't know. I've never been in that
How you're set
position.
up. Yeah, if you're set up as a business or set up, or you've logged on and registered individually, and then individually you'll be withdrawing. But if you can still continue, Karen, if you're able to still go in and answer questions and you've not withdrawn,
Yeah, but you don't want to learn that by withdrawing and then all your answers are away.
Yeah.
I would ask PCS that before you do that, before you withdraw, because I really don't know if that withdraws your organisation. I would think it does withdraw your organisation.
If you're set up that way, I think because the in ERA is in there, I think Karen's already experienced. I think someone had. I think it happened. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely, phone PCS and ask the question. There is a helpline there. Nicola's saying, just a reminder of my question around being a sole trader and approaching questions around turnover and net profit. I think we've already answered that, haven't we? There's no net profit. You have already answered that. Alicia or Elsa is saying, oh, that's absolutely fine. We'll share the recording with you. Karen says, thanks, this has been really helpful. Harriet said yes, I'm not sure what that's about. Nicola said, does it state how many referees or is there guidance on this?
I'm just looking for one referee, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Sam was saying, if you can provide multiple services per lot, do you have to submit an SPD and application for each? I think that's already been answered, hasn't it?
Yeah, the answer is no.
Neil was saying, thank you for the seminar. I appreciate your time in going through this in detail. So, apologies, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I know I am. My Scottish tongue's not got members. I think it's Gila. Gila's asked, can I ask if I submit my documents in a PDF format or can I leave them in Word and Excel? Perhaps it's been asked already, so accept my apologies. No, it hasn't been asked actually. Did they give you a format that they want the answers in?
Yeah, have a read through the instructions just to make sure, but most of the time they'll prefer them to be in the original format rather than changing it to a PDF. The reason is they will then use this information to create like a brochure almost, that they'll put on their internal intranet, and also, you know, make sure all the schools, etc., family centres have got this so that they can then access it. So they'll do like a pricing schedule and all the rest of it for them. So much easier to do that if it's all done in Excel or Word rather than a PDF.
Thank you. Alison says, if we have multiple activities in one lot and multiple lots to apply for, is there one SPT response and then a separate picture and pricing document for each? So yeah, that's definitely been covered. Thanks, Alison. Sean says, with testimonials and reviews of my service, I always add a selection of pictures to reinforce the application to show what is on offer and the services provided. So I suppose what Sean's asking, are you able to upload pictures? Do they give you the option to do that?
Yeah, we did cover that, and what I said was I would ask them if it's okay to do that.
Okay.
Most of the time they'll be okay with that as long as you don't go crazy with it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, back over here now then. Harriet said it's because each sheet needs to be created. No, okay. Marta said, could you give us a good example of a service description, 35 words for, say, the puppet show? We would be, what would be an elevator pitch for a puppet show?
Actually, do you know what? It's really quite hard to know what 35 words is without writing it down, isn't it? What would we say? Well, the overall description would be something along the lines of a puppet show providing an interactive, fun and entertaining experience for children of ages 0 to 16.
To paint the picture so the buyer completely understands what it is you're talking about. That's what your elevator pitch is, and it's your beginning, your middle, and your end. 35 words. So Ling is going to say, can you please clarify, can we detail services for schools and orgs in Perth and Kinross and also Angus?
Can we detail?
Yeah, can we detail services for schools and orgs? And Elena, maybe need a wee bit more information. We're not quite sure what you mean by details. The word detail is thrown. Nicholas saying, to clarify, one SDP responds, then separate forms for different lots. I'm a counsellor and will apply for lot 10, but there is another lot I may apply for that includes therapeutic work. I think it's lot 3. So yes, Barry says, we provide youth groups and one-to-one coaching for LGBTQ young people. Do we need to separate pricing schedules for these?
Yes.
Are they seen as separate services or just one? Sorry if this has already been asked.
Yeah, to me, from what you've described, I think they sound like two different things. So I would be doing, remember you've got to do a service description, which is your 35 words, your 1,000 words, and then to match that, you've got to do the pricing schedule. So I would say that, I mean, it's dead easy to, you can copy and paste it over if you really wanted to, your tables for your pricing, etc. But it sounds to me that even if it's the same price, they might be different lots. And there's certainly different descriptions of the service. So I would do 2 sheets, one pricing for one and pricing for the other.
Perfect, thank you. I'm sure that helped, Barry. Lynn has come back to us, so the detail, what I mean is the tender, including services for Perth and Kinross and Angus, as well as Dundee, i.e. Tayside wide provision. So the original question was, can you clarify, please, can we detail services for schools and orgs in Perth and Kinross and Angus as well as Dundee? So is there a way to bid individually?
Well, yes. So yeah, if you're doing, so that's a good point. If for example your pricing was different, if it's in Perth and Kinross compared to if it's in Dundee, because maybe you've got extra travelling costs or something like that, then you would put that, you'd have to do 2 different pricing schedules. And in your service description, you would have the same description of what it is, but maybe put in brackets, Dundee City Council, and then you would have another pricing schedule where you maybe put in brackets, Perth and Kinross Council. If that's the case, if you think you're going to have different prices for different geographical areas.
Okay. Lynn said, brilliant, thank you. I can see you came back with perfect thank you. Kelly said there is a tab for each lot, and I said thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions, but I'm just going to just double check to be sure. Julie, can you have a wee check and see if anything's been directed to you privately rather than, I know Rose did, but then Rose sent her 3 to me, so I got them, but somebody else might have.
Nothing come through to me.
Is everything all gone straight to host?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
it was the same one. It was the same questions that we answered.
Okay, good. Sean says thank you. It's been very helpful, and Adele says thank you for everything. Will we definitely receive the link to the recording? I promise you. Everybody that's here tonight will automatically be pinged an email tomorrow asking for your feedback. That's our standard procedure. Now, within that feedback email is where we contain the link for you to download the recording. So yes, Adele, you will receive, because we want your feedback. We need to know if there's anything that will make this a wee bit more user-friendly for you. Please share it with us. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So if you guys have asked a question and we've not read it out, now would be a good time to pop it back through either the live chat or the Q&A. I've got both open just now. Susan said, thank you so much. This has been really helpful. Adele said, thank you. Nicola said, Julie, could you do a brief reminder on screen how to save and go as you go? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, let me just bring it up again. Right, so just get this up. Screen share. Okie dokie. So this is us in the interest list. So you would go to Postbox, pick the one, edit dispatch, and just say we're going to go in and edit the SPD. Well, remember, it does take a wee while. That's the only thing, because and even getting beyond this bit takes a wee while to get into it. So this is the bit where we'll have to wait for it. Pretty sure that behind the scenes it's actually going to a completely different website where they keep this information, which is why it takes so long. Every single time you do it, it just takes a long time. So let's just see. We go straight to so these tabs along the top. If you get familiar enough, you know, right? My question is is about grave professional misconduct, and I know I haven't answered that, or I want to go back and check that. Then you can actually use the tabs along the top and the tabs down the bottom to quickly go rather than using next. So if I just say I'm going to answer, we haven't been guilty of grave professional misconduct, and the answer to that is no, and that's all I've got time to do today, then you just click save, and it just tells you can save only because you haven't finished everything. And that's saved it, and then you can go to the end and it just takes you out. So then you can go back in again. So at any point I can just do that to go back in and edit my SPD, and it saves everything that I've done by just clicking that save or next button. And similarly in here, if I do add a document in, then at the bottom I can save and exit. So it takes me out of the post box and back into there. Just remember, do not touch that delete button. Okay. So
Nice, that's clearly learned. That was brilliant. So Lynn says, brilliant, thank you. Julie said, oh, done that one. And Lynn said, this has been really helpful. Thank you both so much. Weather the storm, it's really bad outside. So glad our training was online tonight. We didn't have to travel Dundee to do this. And Karen said,
we wouldn't have got back.
Well, we wouldn't have got home. No, you're right, we'd be stuck. And Nicola says, thank you. Karen says, thank you for the session, very helpful. That's us. I think we'll just come in on time. Well done, Julie. On time. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us tonight. I'm sure you'll join me in thanking Julie for delivering a fantastic session. I'll just stop the recording right there.